You're back! Great! In this lesson, we'll talk about delegating. It is said that you can differentiate someone who just wants to lead and a true leader by the way different tasks are delegated. It is a leader's responsibility to bring out the best parts of each teammate by giving them certain tasks to work with. In that way, the one in charge of the organization has more time for strategic planning and being a visionary. Delegating tasks is one of the leadership styles. In order to enhance your organization's productivity, delegating is essential. If you work on your own, there's only a limited amount of what you can do, however hard you work. And since time is not endless, you can only work for a limited number of hours a day. In other words, there's only a limited amount of tasks that you can complete in these hours. Therefore, as a leader working alone, the number of people that can help you is limited, and your success is limited. Remember, the more leaders micromanage, the more their teams push for independence. You need to break that cycle if it's already happening in your organization. Delegating is essential to train new members within the organization. Learning to delegate tasks and to divide them will help you be a more productive leader. Since youth organizations have different goals and sizes, it is important to really know the capabilities of your organization. Let's say a typical youth organization has a few active leaders, for example the board, and some volunteers who like the projects or the goals of the organization. In that case, you don't have that much of a capacity and definitely can't do everything alone. In a small organization, it is crucial for every member to have certain tasks, which have been prioritized and talked through at the beginning of the year, or whenever the new member joined the team. If it is a medium-sized organization or an umbrella organization, one of the main things you probably focus on is advocacy and representing your members. In that case, it is rather visible when an organization is managed in a way that leaves the staff or the volunteers unsatisfied. As a leader, it is your responsibility to keep the organization functional and growing, and not always in quantity, but rather in quality. So, when you master the task of delegating, you have more time to look at the organization in general. Where it's moving, what needs to be improved, is the staff happy, etc. And for a youth organization, sustainability is not that easy to maintain. There are many reasons for that. I'll give you a few examples. First, people tend not to delegate tasks because they think that they can finish the task faster and more efficiently themselves. That is a very selfish way of thinking and tends to lead to a leader's burnout and dissatisfied members. Second, it takes extra time to give somebody necessary information. Most of the time, people are not up to contributing extra time. Third, they don't do long-term planning. That leads to acting the way that currently seems logical, but in long term creates management problems. And fourth, the simple fear of failure. Here's a few examples of situations where it would be wise to delegate. Let's see them. As a team leader, you should delegate not only some, but most of the tasks to your members. So you could focus on seeing the bigger picture. Tasks like project planning, monitoring the progress of your work, and motivating your members. You should also delegate when you feel that you are overwhelmed with responsibilities. Try to think if everything you are currently doing really has to be done by you. Delegating is also recommended when you are trying to educate new members of the team. When there is a skill to be learned by someone, delegate the task to him or her. Furthermore, delegate if it is not a high-risk task. If everything in your organization depends on one simple single task, it is okay to do it yourself. Otherwise, delegating should be a regular habit. And finally, delegate when you have a vision or a plan. That way you should have worked out a task for each member of the team in order for the project or the mission to be completed successfully. So, are you now eager to delegate? Here's a couple of useful tips to get you going. Probably the most important aspect in delegating is trust. Learn to trust other people in their tasks. Don't be the guy who asks all the time, when is the task completed? You have already decided to delegate the task, give them some time to be finished. Also, set up concrete schedules on when the assignment should be started and when it should be completed. And always include instructions. Then, set a priority list. Let your team know which tasks are more important. As a final piece of advice, try to delegate one task as a whole. For example, when looking for sponsors, instead of delegating the task of sending a single email to a possible sponsor, delegate the whole assignment of making contacts, setting terms, to one single person. Nobody likes to do little mundane tasks forever. You give your members more freedom, which you give them the responsibility of a whole part of the project or an event. And finally, some advice on who to delegate to. The first principle is usually to delegate to the lowest possible organizational level. Second, delegate to teammates, those who need skill development. Third, delegate to new members, for them to feel a part of the team. Fourth, delegate to potential next organization leaders, for them to actually start taking new responsibility. And finally, delegate to someone who is just good at something you are not so comfortable in. Whew, that was a lot of advice. Now that you've mastered the art of delegating and sharing responsibility, you have more time to concentrate on the bigger picture. And that also means that someday you have to think about passing on the role of a leader. But now, you guessed it. It is time to exercise.